Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the studio. James Lex here, joined as always by John Cookman. We're ready to talk NAIA FCS quarterfinals as well as the upcoming semifinals. Let's start in the quarterfinals, John, talking about Grandview and College of Idaho. A great game. What did you see in this game from this Grandview team that came out on top 14-6?
Well, you would, James, have to start off the one I was wrong about, and I had picked College of Idaho to win this game.
By only 4. It wasn't a huge margin.
Right.
It was close.
Right. And, well, I think that speaks to the program that College of Idaho has and how legitimate they were, because Grandview is a great team, and there's no doubt. I mean, they're undefeated. No doubt as to how good their defense has been all year and a very potent offense. So I first have to get that out of the way. I was wrong. And College of Idaho, though, had that dual threat in Peterson, and he did a great job. He actually
but he didn't have a bad game.
He made a crucial mistake, which led to, I think, the loss. Yeah. But they had a lot of game left to make up for that. So I don't pin it totally on Peterson. I do say that if he didn't throw that crucial interception in the second quarter, I believe it was it was the second quarter, then they probably would have held on to win. So College of Idaho deserves a great tip of the cap. They had a fantastic season. And what I saw was Grandview put together a good plan. And they held to the plan, and they didn't get rattled as the College of Idaho offense was moving the ball at any point in time.
Right.
So the defense really did a great job for Grandview, and then the offense did what they had to. Although you can see that College of Idaho had better numbers.
Which is insane. I mean, they outgained them by 80 yards, and but it was the second quarter. And you alluded to this. The second quarter, Grandview gets 14 points, and that was all they needed. And combine that with the turnovers.
Yeah, two interceptions by Peterson, and one was crucial, led to 2 plays later, led to a touchdown, put them well within, I think it was in the red zone, actually, or just right outside of it. And credit Grandview, they did a great job capitalizing on that turnover. Then there was, at the end of the first half, just a crazy interception. And, I mean, meant nothing, really. Yeah. So
I think there were 2 very good defenses on the field for this
game.
Very good. That was we'll talk about the upcoming games here that are just shootouts. And this game, it's you're in the third quarter and it's 14-3, and you're going, oh boy, whoever can hang on, not make that critical turnover. Unfortunately, Grandview came out on top.
Grandview's passing attack
for College of Idaho anyway
is a little bit suspect, but I guess we can talk about that for the upcoming game.
Yeah, let's talk now about the defending national champions Morningside, as they dismantled St. Xavier. There's really no way to describe that. It was a complete game. Morningside scored every single quarter, and they just poured it on, and they looked like a team that deserves to be in the semifinals and probably the championship game, given that dismantling.
I picked Marian to win the whole thing, but even for Marian, the Morningside task is a tall order, and I just don't. I think that's going to be a incredible game, Marian Morningside. So I'd just go ahead and spoil that for you. At least that's my pick. Marian Morningside. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out, best defense in the country by a mile, and then maybe the best offense in the country in Morningside.
How about Dolenchek? 4 passing touchdowns.
Incredible.
And 303 yards.
This kid is incredible, man.
He's the real deal.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
really
only a freshman. I mean, he's young.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going after last year, going, what's going to happen after Solzma, and who 2018 is 2018. It's 2019. Let's see if 2019, if this Morningside team is still good.
Yep.
And they just came out and, I mean, here let's go back to last week. I said Morningside would win by 24. You said 21. If we added it up together, we'd still be wrong. I mean, they scored 51. They are able to score. What do you think is the best quality of Morningside, the offense or the defense?
Right now, I want to say the offense, but that is, trying to split hairs because both of their defense and offense, I think, are so equally good, and the strategies from both sides, they can hold to a game plan. They can go, okay, this is our game plan. This is how we scouted the team. This is what we need to do. We need to take away these things. We need to do these things on offense. And they just go out and get it done. Yeah. No one stands in their way. They fear no one. No. And they shouldn't, because the talent level that they have is off of the charts, but also on the coaching side, they got their act together, man. They know how to get the most out of their players.
They feel so balanced.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Martinez, poor guy, man. I mean,
and he's a good quarterback.
Rios was all over him. Yeah. I mean, I think there was 6 sacks for that game, and that means your offensive line is just breaking down. So, you say, okay, the offense is awesome. It's great. It does all this. But when your defense is putting that kind of pressure on your opponent's offense, what can you do? I mean, you're not going to be able to score. I think Martinez threw 2 interceptions.
He did.
And a fumble.
He had the fumble, three turnovers.
So it was a tough day for a very good quarterback in Martinez. He's not shabby at all.
And 30 for 52, 240 yards.
Yeah.
Not a great performance, but I think against Morningside, against Morningside that may be, if you're looking ahead to play them, you might have to go.
That was late.
That may be. He got a little bit, but even so, you have to kind of go. You can't really plan to get 400 passing yards on Morningside. You have to learn how to win a close one. And
there's not much that you can say about that game because 51-zip. I mean, what?
No.
What's there to talk about?
Morningside, it rolls on.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Lindsey Wilson, Kansas Wesleyan?
You could say Morningside, roll side.
Yeah, roll side.
Maybe I get something started there.
Well,
all right, we can move on.
Say that the Tide, since you're talking about the Tide, they didn't get up the win on Saturday. But anyway, let's move on. Lindsey Wilson beat Kansas Wesleyan 35-24.
Yet another one I got wrong.
The only road team to get the win during the quarterfinals was this Lindsey Wilson team. Kind of surprised both of us.
I know there's some talk out there that wants to look at Kansas Wesleyan as a chump team, not worthy of a Final Four. And I don't go that far. I think they were worthy of another Final Four. They just didn't have a good day. And every team, you got to come out. I mean, they had everything in their favor. They had the home field advantage. They had all the accolades coming up to it. To lose a game to Lindsey Wilson, I think is next to unpardonable. That's next to it. It's not unpardonable, but it's next to unpardonable. I believe that Kansas Wesleyan is the real deal. They did what they needed to do to get there. It's just that Lindsey Wilson played a better down the stretch. Played a better game, and Kansas Wesleyan just couldn't get the offense rolling, which was an anomaly. And
it was.
I didn't really get to see that game other than just really read the stats and kind of come through because I was very interested. I want to know why Kansas Wesleyan.
Johnny Photo for Kansas Wesleyan. He has 16 for 34, so not even 50% completion percentage, 212 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. 12 rushes for 29 yards. I'm guessing some of that is just him. He got sacked 4 times. He pressure all day. And what can you say about this Kansas Wesleyan team beyond 24 points? They got 360 yards. And the naysayers. Here's what I'll be the devil's advocate here. Naysayers are going to say they got 360 yards. That's plenty of offense to win this game. And that was 120, 140 under their season average. But that's just bloat from playing in the KCAC because they're just beating up on all these bad teams. That's running them up to 500-some yards a game. 360 was well enough. They're just not good enough.
Well, the defense didn't show up for Kansas Wesleyan.
You say the defense didn't show up, or that Lindsey Wilson offense showed up? Because they were balanced 200-plus on the ground, 200-plus over in the air.
I would say that's a Kansas Wesleyan defense. We saw they have a good defense. It's not like they have a poor defense. They have a very, very good defense. And to allow 235 yards
on the ground.
What? Running? I mean, you just came out and had a very, very
Boyd
bad
had a great day. 155 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He ran all over him.
Well, Lindsey Wilson's running attack is not that great. So I would put this whole loss on Kansas Wesleyan defense, although I think the offense just didn't get it together in the second half and get the score that they needed. They were that type of offense. They could have done that, but they didn't. So, but really when you look at it, Kansas Wesleyan defense just didn't show up like they had all year. So they had a bad game, and I don't think they're bad. I think they're, they were worthy of getting into a Final Four, I believe. They just didn't play well enough that day to get there.
I mean, they got in the Final. I'm forgetting. They got in the Final Four last year. Yeah. And they almost got there this year.
Yeah,
so
but the argument was they beat two
weak
teams to get there. This year they beat a great Baker team. And I mean, Lindsey Wilson, in my opinion, was probably maybe one of the weakest teams that they would have faced.
We're going to get some in the comment section on that.
Well, I mean, Mid-South is not that impressive to me, but I mean they're good. We're talking about the top echelon.
We are, yeah.
They have 3-4 really, really good teams in that top 30 to 35 teams out of 93 teams in the NAIA. So they, in the big picture, they have a good, but when you're talking about the elite teams, I don't know that they.
Now that we're getting down to the Final Four here,
or even that Final Eight. But they had two represented, Cumberland's and Lindsey Wilson, and which is a good segue to.
Let's talk about the school that keeps playing these Mid-South teams in the playoffs is Marian, who. Well, speaking of dismantling, they basically dismantled Cumberland's from the very beginning of this one. It was 30-0, and John, it really wasn't that close.
Cumberland's couldn't do anything at all. It was a rainy day that definitely didn't work to their favor, but both teams had to play in the rain. And it was colder maybe than Cumberland's is used to. I don't know that to be true. It gets cold in Kentucky.
The
they're
defense
not that far apart.
No, not at all. But that defense for Marian, John,
it's the best in the nation. It is better than Morningside.
And Cumberland's has a very good offense, by the way. They're not nothing to sneeze at all.
Let's take a look at, because this is kind of funny. The two teams in that division in Mid-South had to play each other last game of the season to determine who was going to be
Lindsey Wilson and
conference winner. And Lindsey Wilson beat Cumberland's, but Cumberland's had a kind of bad game against them, and they lost by 3. And they had
21-24
turnover. They had 5 or 6 more penalties. They just didn't finish the game well, and Lindsey Wilson was able to hold on. I can't remember who hosted that game. I think Lindsey Wilson did. So, could have been a home field advantage, 3 points. But they kind of are the same team. Lindsey Wilson coming into Marian, they don't got a shot. They not even a 1% shot. Ooh. And matter of fact, Cumberland's offense is better than Lindsey Wilson's offense. Ooh. And they couldn't even score.
You're going to say the Cumberland's offense is superior to the Lindsey Wilson offense?
Cumberland's only brings out 120 yards total. I mean, are you
1
kidding
for
me?
13 on third down. You're just not going to win many games with that stat line.
Yeah.
Only one turnover each for a team. You'd expect with a 30-0 game, you'd expect the team that loses to maybe have 3 or 4 turnovers. Cumberland's on. And now I will say this: this game I believe had 7 fumbles, but not a lot of them. They got recovered by the same team. So the weather impacted the play clearly, and
there were 4 fumbles in the first quarter.
Yeah, even so.
2 by each team.
Even so, again, that Marian, I felt like Marian offense stepped up from the Reinhardt game. I feel like they took maybe a step forward. Again, Marian, they're not going to score 50, 60, 70 points on you. They just they control
let's talk about that a little bit. Darter is a very interesting character in all this. Yeah. I think he's
kind of their X factor in a sense.
Well, he's so good, and he's a big guy. He's kind of the Ben Roethlisberger of NAIA football. He is a big dude and can throw the ball with ease. Yeah. I saw their main receiver, number 4, his name slipped in my mind.
Is it Clark?
William.
William, yeah.
He's a great receiver,
Johnny
by
William,
the way. Yeah, Johnny William. He's a great receiver. But he dropped 2, one in the end zone. I mean, hit him square in the hand, soft.
Yeah,
and it didn't slip out. It just bounced out. And it was a good route, wide open. And I think these guys can hang a lot of points. I think they can. I think they're just starting to get in this offensive groove, knowing who they are, and the offensive line is starting to even get more better.
Yeah,
if that's even a thing. But
but this is an offense that has 37 rushes combined from their 2 running backs. I mean, 37 rushing plays. That's a lot.
They're not afraid to run the ball. They will run it right smack
between the tackles.
Up the teeth. And try to knock your teeth out. They're not scared of that at all. I think it's going to be very, very tough for Lindsey Wilson to handle just the running game. But if Darter gets hot.
Yeah, I mean, he had 174 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions in the rain.
Yeah. And he throws the ball with ease. And
he dropped another one.
Yeah. I think they're very, very good.
Yeah.
They got both factors. The defense is definitely the highlight, so but this game offense can reel them off too.
This game has more to do with Marian being good, not necessarily Cumberland's being bad. Or do you feel like maybe Cumberland's wasn't a worthy opponent for this Marian Knights team?
But that's going to be the storyline for anybody. It's Marian's defense is that good. Yeah. Best in the nation. I mean, maybe Morningside kind of. Maybe. Grandview, Morningside both have really, really good defenses, but they're not going to be better than Marian. Marian's defense, I mean, they keep everything in front of them. Here's one thing. They don't get a lot of sacks. They get back. They put a lot of pressure. They do get their share of sacks, but they don't force a ton of turnovers like some of the other defenses. But they keep fundamentally sound. They keep everything in front of them, and they're quick. They're quick, and they do not miss tackles. Yeah. I maybe 2 times against Cumberland's that they kind of missed a tackle. That after contact, there was another 8 or 10 yards added. Nothing big at all. And maybe 2 plays, they got an extra 8 to 10 yards. They just don't miss tackles. First contact usually brings the ball to the ground. So that's what makes them fundamentally so good. And it's going to be interesting to see a high-powered offense like Morningside. I've already written the games. Morningside beats Grandview easily.
Let's talk about this game, Morningside and Grandview. Let's talk about. You're saying it's a done deal. This is a done deal. You have Morningside beating Grandview.
It's a lock.
It's a lock.
Morningside.
You can bet your house 30, on it. 30.
By 30 over Grandview.
Whoa, 30 over Grandview.
It's a lock.
Well, it's hard to argue against you because of that Morningside offense. They can
I lost too this past weekend, so I was 50-50.
But okay, so we got Battle of Undefeateds here. You have the Heart of America North champion, GPAC, both in Iowa, and that kind of central part of the U.S.
Yeah, that's not going to be anything.
Let me. You're saying it's a lock. Let me make a little case for Grandview then.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about this freshman quarterback for Morningside, Check. He has 8 interceptions in his last 6 games, including 1 each the last 2 weeks in the playoffs.
So
Morningside turns over the ball a lot, and we've talked about the importance of turnovers. I mean, just look at the turnover margin here. Grandview is plus 17. Morningside's a plus 2. And the defense doesn't get as many turnovers as Grandview, not as many as some of the other team, the Marians out there. Maybe Morningside is the way that you beat this Morningside team is you plan for this, and you go, I have to get 3 or 4 turnovers, because if you don't get them turn over the ball, they're just going to run with it or throw it, and they're air raid and ground. Yep. They're going to just beat you by 40. But Grandview, their defense can create turnovers. They create a few. The offense stays in control. They just slow and steady, wear out the clock, and they get a win. I don't think they're going to win by more than a touchdown. But if that's how they're going to win, I think there is a chance.
My plus 30. You're saying there's a chance. It's a very, very, very slim chance. But I say Grandview forces 2 turnovers. I say they get 2 turnovers off of Morningside. Won't stop them. It's just.
You're saying Morningside's immune to just turnovers?
They're not immune to it because they create
can still win,
turnovers.
I
mean, they have turnovers. They're immune to letting that affect them in a negative way. Defense just comes out and does what they need to do, and then it's like, okay, next I'll do it next time, and they do. I mean. I know it's not a good barometer to look at the St. X game because Dolinchek just had his way with them. Yeah. But I think it's going to be similar. They're going to open up the backfield. They're going to open up the secondary. Dolinchek will. He'll take some. He's a sophomore. He takes risks. And he gets rewarded most of the time. But, when you take risks, you're gonna reap out some. Yeah. In his case, interceptions, and he'll probably give up 2, but it's not going to stop the freight train that's going to roll through, man, because those guys, they can score a lot of points, even giving up turnovers.
And let's also talk about the other turnovers as penalties. And Grandview, on the season, Morningside has about 65, 66. Yep. Grandview has 96, and the yardage difference is 3 3 football fields of difference there. Well, I guess we didn't pay the light bill.
Who didn't pay the light bill? Somebody pay the light bill. James would get that worked up. I'm not. I get where you're going with the penalties, but every game's a new game, and tendencies do favor Morningside in the fact that they. There I am. I see myself. They give up less in the penalties category, but and Grandview. But I think Grandview could come out and play a fairly disciplined game. Great teams will play really good and great when they need to. I don't think the penalties is going to be the big issue in this particular game. I just think Morningside's going to outgun them.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We talked 2013. Grandview and Morningside played each other in the semifinals. Grandview 35-0. Same coaches here playing again this Saturday. And you got to think, maybe Coach Steve Ryan from Morningside, he may want a little payback for getting knocked out of that championship game. Now Morningside the hotter team at the moment, but there might be a little bit of bitterness. Who's the best team in Iowa coming into this game?
Well, I'm sure.
Grandview won the championship that year too. So Coach Steve Ryan for Morningside's going, that was a team that we could have, he's probably feeling I could have beat that team and then I could have been the national champion. So I think this will be a good game here.
Well, Marian's no stranger to the championship game either.
No,
and
not at all.
Nor are they a stranger to winning. So it's Morningside and Marian. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. I think even much better than last year's Morningside Benedictine.
Yeah, I think so. So I have Morningside by 10 against Grandview just because I'm not sure on the Morningside turnovers playing a team like Grandview. You have Morningside by 30. Is that right? You have them by 30. Lindsey Wilson, Marian, got a score. I have Marian by Marian beat Cumberland's 30-0. I'm going to take that Lindsey Wilson Cumberland's game field goal difference 27. to 0 Marian.
27
by 27, but I'll say by 27, but I'm expecting it to be a very similar game. Still played in Indianapolis. I think Marian gets this one by 27. You?
I'm gonna call this one 38-7.
38-7.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a junk in the fourth quarter. It's going to be well in hand, and they're going to get some of the third stringers some clock on defense, and I think Lindsey Wilson scores in the fourth quarter kind of late.
A little garbage time scoring here. Lindsey Wilson, this is their first time in the semifinals. I mean, they are the new kid here to get to this level. You have the first time they met each other. But let's not necessarily discount this Lindsey Wilson team because they beat St. Francis week 1. They beat them. Week 2, they go to Kansas Wesleyan, and they beat them. They still haven't lost a game this year. I think Marian.
That was probably the best game they've had all year.
Was against Kansas Wesleyan.
And it took a bad game for Kansas Wesleyan.
Well, I'd say Marian. Marian is kind of interesting. They're going to play Reinhardt, and then they played Cumberlands, and now they're going to play Lindsey Wilson. All Mid-South teams for their first 3 weeks, getting into potentially the championship game. A little bit of a cakewalk for them.
In contrast, I think that Lindsey Wilson at this point is the sweetheart of the Final Four. So a lot of people, and I've kind of, I guess it could be perceived that I talked them down. I was just trying to be a realist, but I can see why they are a sweetheart favorite, and a lot of emotions, a lot of people want them to win. And I'm not rooting against them per se. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to use my head, not my heart, in my picks. But it wouldn't, if Lindsey Wilson beat Marian, man, it would be a fantastic and a great upset. And I wouldn't be upset about that at all. It's just, to me, it's kind of black and white. Mm-hmm. And these are the obvious things that are sitting on paper and on the field, really. Nobody's better than Morningside Marian that's left to play. So those are the two obvious teams. And I'm going to take Marian in a upset win over Morningside.
Yeah. We had a poll on the Champion Sports Network Twitter page, and it was kind of, I think it was last show we talked about Morningside or the field. Who do you take? Yeah. And it was pretty much a landslide.
Field all day.
A landslide on this one. It was 79%, 21% Morningside, and you're pretty well behind. And I'm myself am taking Morningside over Marian. I just
over
think
the field.
Over the field. I think Morningside is just a good. I think their defense is very underrated right now. I know Marian has.
You would have
taken
taken Morningside over the field day one.
Not day one.
No, I'm talking about first day of the tournament.
First day of the tournament. Yeah, I would have.
Really?
I would have. I think the defense is, after they had beaten Northwestern to close out the season, they made it look so easy, and it.
Guess what?
Guess what?
Marian's going to beat them in the championship.
How much? How much are they going to beat? How much can they score against the Morningside defense? How much will the Marian offense score against that defense?
14.
They're going to win the national championship with 14 points.
14-7.
14-7.
Yeah.
If you guys think he's lost his mind, put it in the comments, please, because I'm not seeing 14-7 in the championship game. Now, granted, Marian, those are two good defenses, so I'm not going to discredit that by any means. I just think defenses, Marian's got the edge, but the offense, I think Morningside has much more of an edge. That's the difference maker for me. So I'm giving that one to Morningside. I know it's an easy pick. I'm picking the number 1 team, but I mean, apparently 79% of America is also going to stick with me.
Yeah, it's easy. 79%. It's easy. Anyway, I mean, that's what happens.
Well, either way, it'll be some good games coming up this week. Make sure you guys are following Champion Sports Network on Twitter at CSN_NAIA. Go to championsports.network and you can connect with us subscribe right here on YouTube, but you can also like us on Facebook, follow Twitter, etc. Closing thoughts heading into our semifinal weekend?
It's a great time to be a football fan, and I love NAIA football. This is a lot of fun. So it's some really great talent on the field.
There is.
Really great talent. And I don't know. It's the purity and the innocence of NAIA football. It's just so genuine, and it seems real. I can't even stand to hardly watch NCAA football anymore.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't seem real, and it's been commercialized so much, and
a lot of timeouts too.
Yeah.
They just call it even now officials timeouts
you know,
and stuff.
I don't know. I don't want to get too much on a rant on that.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch guys go and really, it feels like something's on the line.
It does.
And these guys play their heart out on the field, and it is a lot of fun to watch.
And these are informed fans too that are coming here.
Yeah.
These are informed. They're passionate. They
absolutely.
care about their school.
That's another side. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point, James. It is true. The fans that go to those games, it's destination. It's not the cool thing to go to.
Right.
So you go because you really, really like it. You talk about it because you really like it, and you really get into the players. Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun this year.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this this episode or this show, I guess. We'll be doing another show after the semifinals to see if John and I are right, if Marian and Morningside move on to the championship game. But either way, go to championsports.network. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe. We'll see you next week.